Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Through the Fire and the SBN Small Business Network podcast. I am your host, Ryan Wickline, and today we are joined by a very special guest. He is the side hustle samurai, Mr. Bart Merrell. How you doing today, Bart?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty amazing.
Thanks for having me on today.
Hey, it's not. I love having other people on talking about side hustles and, my favorite subject, mindset.
Awesome. I will. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So the number one question the audience is probably wondering, who is Bart Merrell?
Okay. Well, I tell people I'm the side hustle samurai. I help people create financial security by monetizing what they already know and do. So I help them identify their ideal side hustle, help them get on a path to turning that into a stream of income. Because it's not if life is going to happen, it's when life is going to happen, because it will. It's happened to me a couple of times, and we'll share that throughout the podcast, I'm sure. But sometimes people ask me, how did you get into this? Where did you start? I grew up in a small farming community in southwestern New Mexico. I grew up on a pig farm. So how did I come to where I'm a side hustle guy and doing what I do? Long story short is my main goal when I hit about 18, my main goal was to get in the FBI and chase serial killers. And I went through college. We had an FBI agent that was a family friend. And he said the easiest way into the FBI is through accounting. And then once you get in, you apply to the different positions that you want. And if you're good, you're going to get it. And so you don't have to stay in the white collar area of accounting. So that was my goal. I went to school in accounting. I didn't like accounting. I wasn't good at accounting. It was just a means to an end. I had 1 quarter left up at school. I decided to go back and help my dad on the farm and improve my Spanish. And while I was down there, I was in, like I said, Podunk, New Mexico. I was making money and I had no place to spend it. So money was burning holes in my pocket. My friends that were in like Border Patrol, custom agents, some cops were getting this RK surgery done on their eyes. It was what was before LASIK. And it had just barely come out. It was pretty expensive. And I wanted to get it done. So I went and got it done, got rid of my glasses. I didn't have glasses from age 24 clear till 50, 51. A couple of years ago, I had to go back to glasses. But I got back up to school, and I found out that automatically disqualifies me from the FBI. I was devastated because I have 1 quarter left. I'm in the middle of that quarter. I'm in a degree that I don't like, that I'm not good at, and I don't want to do. And I went ahead and finished my schooling. And the reason the FBI doesn't want to automatically disqualify you for that, because it was still experimental. They didn't want to put money into you and then have you go blind. And so that blew up my dream. And I kind of fell back on what my dad taught me through example. I say dad was a pig farmer, but he was a businessman. He had his hands in many different things. They were all in the agricultural industry, but they were different ways to make money. He owned part of a dairy farm in Idaho, part of a mushroom warehouse where they grew mushrooms in Utah, part of a produce warehouse in Arizona, used to be where Diamondback Stadium now stands. And so when they wanted that property, he made a good chunk of change. Now, Dad never set me down and told me about the birds and the bees of business. He just showed by example. And when I wanted to start doing things, he encouraged me. And so that's kind of how I got my start. And I have been side hustling since I was 15. When this got blown up in my face in college, I've never done the real job thing. I just have different side hustles, and that's kind of how I survived.
Huh. Is it true that you've never had a real job?
I had jobs in high school. So one of my side hustles was so I was up at college. I was devastated. I was doing landscaping as my part-time job at school. And when my life got blown up, one of my friends jokingly asked me, he worked for a bungee jump company that built bungee towers. He jokingly asked me, "Hey, Bart, do you want to go back to Japan?" I'd spent a couple of years in Japan. I spoke Japanese. And he says, "You want to go back to Japan?" And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah. Now, he didn't know that I was an adrenaline junkie, that I love that stuff. But he soon found out, yes, and I wanted to go do this. They needed someone to help build the bungee towers and to help train the staff and make sure everything goes well. And I would contract as a 1099 employee with the Japanese company. And so I didn't work for the Utah company, and I didn't work for the Japanese company. I just was a 1099 self-employed employee. And so when I would do that, so I did that from 1994 till 2000. I would go back and forth to Japan. And so I would go to Japan, and I really made enough money in Japan to not do anything, but I would still do stuff. And so I would work at a welding shop just for fun. And I'd go weld stuff and build stuff. And that's why I can build a bungee tower and stuff. It's because of some of the stuff I did growing up. So I could weld, and I enjoyed it. And so that's one of the things that I did. And so as far as a real job, I've never been an employee that was where I was going to be. While I was doing the Japanese thing, I'd spent, 3 to 6 months, maybe even, I don't think I spent, and then I would come home and go back, come home and go back. And so I didn't live in Japan for more than probably 6 months at one time. But then when I was home, I would get bored, so I would do stuff. So I would go work at the welding shop that I was friends with. And but I wasn't their employee per se. And so I thought I had an accounting job, and I'm glad that I didn't get it, because I wouldn't have wanted to do that. And so, no, I haven't had a real job. I've always done my own thing.
What type of mindset does it take to do something like that? Because you're definitely stepping outside your comfort zone and trying new things.
Exactly. And so I sometimes look back on my life and I say, wow, I was lucky. But what is luck? Seneca, he says luck is where opportunity and preparedness meet. And then I add one more thing. You got to take action. So you got to be prepared mentally, and we'll get more into the mindset stuff. You got to be prepared mentally. You got to be prepared financially. Some of the stuff you do is going to require an upfront cost. One of the other side hustles I have is I started a dog training business. And to do that, it cost me, $8,000, $10,000 to get started. But my first year, I made 10 times that. And I had a business partner that also made another 5 times that on a part-time basis. And so, you have to be prepared financially. You got to be prepared mentally, and you got to be willing to take action. Just because the opportunity presents itself and you're prepared, if you don't take action, you don't take that first step, nothing happens. And so you got to have that type of mindset. Now, number 2, and this might be the more important than the other one. I would say they're both important. So I wrote a book. It's called Monetize Your Mindset. And what it talks about, it's not a how-to book. It is a how-to think book. So anything that crosses my desk, crosses my life, good, bad, or ugly, I always think, can I monetize it? And so you got to be aware of the opportunities that are all around you, and even the bad stuff. So we're going to get a little extreme here. Last year, March 25th, I had to have my lower leg amputated. When I found out that I was going to have my leg cut off, after the shock and awe was over, I said, okay, I don't like this. I don't want to do this, but I have to do this. So how can I monetize it? Now, that's crazy to think, okay, how am I going to monetize getting my leg chopped off? That's just the way I think. This is going to happen. I'm going to have to do something. I'm going to have to learn things. I'm going to have to learn a new lifestyle. How can I monetize it? 6 months post-op, so 6 months after my amputation, I contracted with my prosthetist as a 1099 employee. I help people go through what I went through. And I help him with some of his marketing and website and stuff like that. So within 6 months, after getting my leg chopped off, I now get paid for chopping my leg off. I wouldn't advise that to people. Don't go chopping off body parts to try and get a side hustle. But if it's going to happen, monetize it.
Yeah.
You've heard the saying. You've heard the saying,
Yeah.
When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I take it one step further. If you're going to be making lemonade, you might as well build a lemonade stand and sell the stuff. And so that's kind of the mindset I have. Good, bad, or ugly. If something crosses your life, crosses your table, think, how can you monetize it? It's just something that I do.
I mean, to get to that point, was there some failures you had to go through to get your mindset to just always approach everything like that?
So one thing that I think is, I grew up with a dad that did it himself, and then he encouraged me. And so what encouraged me to write this book is I was volunteering at a drug rehab center. It was a 90-day in-house drug rehab center, teaching people how to tell their story, how to speak. And I was listening to Jen. She was telling her story. And she said in high school, when her family would go out and about, they seemed normal. They seemed like everybody else. It wasn't until they went home that the abuse and the neglect happened. And so in her mind, everybody else's life was the same. Out and about, they were normal. When they went home, everybody else was getting neglected and abused. She didn't know that that there were other aspects to life, that people were living differently than her until she went to college. And so I'm sitting there listening to Jen's story, and I'm thinking, it's the same with the way people think about money and how to make money. If you didn't live with my dad, if you didn't have my dad or someone like my dad, you don't think like I do. And so that's why I wrote the book, is to help people start thinking like that. And what I do to help people to start thinking like that is we ask a series of questions and they make a list. We ask, what do you like to do? What do you need to do? What are you already doing? And just make lists, just write these lists down. Then you're going to ask, what would you like to learn? What do you need to learn? And what have you already learned that you could share with someone else and get compensated for? And so I just get people thinking and get them started going and moving. And I don't even come up with their ideas. I mean, I do have a memory jogger that we will give out to your audience for free, but I give them stuff to get their juices thinking. I was working with a friend of mine, Stephanie, and she is a bus driver, a school bus driver, and she wanted to get a party bus, and she would drive people, to a jazz game or to a concert or to different locations, dump them off, and then go pick them back up. And so they don't have to worry about parking. They don't have to worry about driving home. They can just have a good time. And we were going through, and I'm taking her down this process. Okay, make these lists. She came back to the next meeting and she was excited. She's like, I just thought of something. I woke up last night in the middle of the night and I thought of this. I'm like, what? If I have my own bus, I can actually give the driving test to people who are trying to get their CDL. And she doesn't even have to market for it. Anybody that goes and takes the written test, the DMV will give them a list of people who give the driving test, and she will be on that list. And obviously the people that are closer to her are going to pick her versus going 20, 30 miles away to take the test. And it would take her, I can't remember even what the test was, a few $100s to take the test. And she's in business. And so I didn't think of that for her. I just started the process and started to get her thinking about it to where she started thinking about it herself. And so that's how I help people who don't have to me, it just comes naturally. It's what I've always done. Once your life blows up, your main goal in life is gone. You just go back to what you learned from your dad.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
That's a great story. So, how important is it, do you think, for other people to have a side hustle?
Oh. So let's take a couple of things. Like I said, I call it what happens when what happens happens. When life happens, are you prepared?
Most of the time, probably not.
Financially, most people aren't. And let me tell you. Okay, so my wife, this was several years ago. My wife's Japanese. She goes to Japan once a year to go visit her family. And while she's there, she gets her health checks done. She called me from Japan and calmly informed me that the initial test indicated cancer. Now, if you've had your life rocked by cancer, you hate that word. My brother died at age 53, and I had two sisters that died at age 62. And so you can imagine what was going through my mind. My first thought was, I could lose my wife. Sadly, my second thought was, we can't afford this. So why do my thoughts go to money so quickly? Money isn't everything. Or is it when you don't have enough? I'm afraid that I don't have enough to drop everything and be by her side as she goes through whatever it is she's going to have to go through. So when life happens, when something happens, you have the initial, whatever it is, cancer, getting your leg chopped off, a car expense that's going to cost you $500,000 that you're not prepared for. Your second thought is, can I afford this? It's right up there at the top of your list, money. Now, money isn't everything, but it gives you options. Steve Jobs had all the money in the world. Cancer got him. But it gave him options to make him more comfortable as he went through whatever it is he went through. Now, the rest of the story with my wife, the biopsy came back negative for cancer, so we were lucky. But why do we have to have a cancer scare or have a warning sign shot up to get prepared? Get prepared before life happens, because you know it's going to happen. And the way you do that is you have a side hustle. Find a side hustle that works for you. I had someone contact me today. She's like, I know you're in the side hustle business, and I know you have a lot of side hustles and know a lot about side hustles. I need to find something that I can do that doesn't require a whole lot of money up front, and that I don't have to, that I know is gonna work. So I'll be working with her to help her find her ideal side hustle. And when I say ideal side hustle, when I work with someone, I have no agenda. I don't want you to come and sell my network marketing stuff. I don't want you to come and sell my business stuff. We take you down the process. What do you like to do? What do you need to do? What are you already doing? And we try and figure out, what things have you experienced in life that you can monetize, that are unique to you and your life experiences. If you do it down that path, one, you're probably excited about it, or two, you're already doing it. So it's not going to take a whole lot of time away from you, because time is finite. We are all busy. We all have busy lives with kids and all this stuff. We got to fit the side hustle into our lifestyle. And so if it's something you're already doing, you might as well get paid for it. Figure out how to get paid for it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. What do you think's the biggest challenge probably holding people back from taking them chances and pursuing that side hustle?
So I think a lot of people get the roadblock of figuring out what to do. What should I do? What should I start? One of the biggest pitfalls when starting a side hustle is picking the right side hustle. So you got to pick the right side hustle. And like I said, the two things: are you excited about it because you're going to be doing it? It's going to be taking time away from your life. So you got to enjoy doing it. I was on an AI seminar last week, and the guy from Lindy, it's a virtual assistant person, but it's an AI bot, and he is the CEO of the company, and he has this great bot and this great company, this great product that he's selling. But you know what was more important was how excited he was. He says, I can't even believe I get to get up in the morning and come and do this. I would have never dreamed it. And he is excited. You can see it in his voice. You can see it in his eyes that he loves what he does. And he would do that. He doesn't consider that a job. He doesn't consider that work. He loves it. And so you got to be passionate about what you're doing, but also think about, okay, am I already doing it? If I'm already doing it, I might as well get paid for it. And so that's what I think. They get in their head and they get, what do I do? And that's why I came up with the 25 successful side hustle ideas for 2025, which is a list I'll give to your audience for free. They can get it. I don't know if you have the link. If you do, just put it in your notes. If not,
yeah, I'll put all that in my show notes and everything here.
Yeah, and so it's just a memory jogger. Your idea or your thing may not be on that list, but you're going to go, oh, you can get paid for dog walking? I could buy me a 3D printer and have fun making stuff and sell that stuff? Are you kidding me? Or, I don't know, I can do Uber? This was brilliant. So it was a few years ago. I ordered an Uber. She picked me up, and we were chit-chatting as we were along the way. I said, how's Uber treating you? Her name was Megan. I said, Megan, how's Uber treating you? Oh, I just do this going to and from work. So she worked about an hour away from her job. She was a nurse. And a lot of times she's traveling in rush hour. She would pick up an Uber that was going to be dropped off somewhere close to her work. She would make an extra $50 or $60 a day, and she would get to use the HOV lane. And she would get there in the same amount of time or quicker and make some extra money. I mean, who couldn't use an extra $50, $60 a day for doing what she was already doing anyway? I thought it was brilliant. And so just doing stuff like that that you're already doing. I bought my first house fresh out of college. I picked the room that was the best one, of course, the one that I wanted, and it was the best room. And I rented out all the other rooms. It paid my mortgage and then some. When I got married, I rented out the basement, and me and my wife lived upstairs. When I moved to my current house, we looked for a house with an accessory apartment, which I've rented ever since we moved here. I have never owned a house where someone didn't pay more than half of my mortgage. Something I have to do anyway. We all have to live somewhere. I've just always rented out part of that, and it's I don't want to say it's free money, but it's residual. I don't have to do anything for it unless someone moves out, and then I have to find another renter. But that falls under what are you already doing? Megan was already driving to her work. I have to live somewhere. I might as well make money off of where I live. And so it's just people get in the way of figuring out, okay, what can I do to make some extra money? And so, like I said, we have the memory jogger, the 25 for 25, that they can, all it does is it gets the juices flowing. Then they have the fear of, okay, failure. What do I need to do to where I don't fail? And there's so many tools out there to help you figure out the path. And I would say get a good mentor. When I was a kid, I don't remember not having a horse, but it wasn't my horse. It was my dad's horse or my brother's horse that I would go ride. And when I was about 7, my horse's name was George, and he was a big, tall horse. And I went to my dad and I said, Dad, when's George going to be my horse? What are you talking about? George is your horse. No, Dad, he's your horse. When's George going to be my horse? And he thought about it a second. He said, okay, when you can put the saddle on by yourself, then George will be your horse. And we're not talking a little English saddle. We're talking a full adult size Western saddle. It was heavier than I was. But man, I was excited. I went, tied George to the back porch, grabbed a chair from the table, drug the saddle over there, and I picked it up as much as I could and leaned it on George, trying to push it up. And George felt the pressure and just stepped away. And the saddle fell down and I was disappointed. But I tried. Every Saturday after cartoons, George was tied up to the back of the house and I was trying to put on that saddle. Finally, at age 12, I was able to do it. And George was my horse. Now, why was I able to stay committed and keep going for those 5 years? Because I had a mentor. I had someone, when I couldn't do it, I'd go get Dad or go get my brother, and they'd come and put on the saddle. I'd watch them, and I knew that if I just grew, I would be able to do it somewhere. If I grew and got stronger, and they would give me pointers. Okay, you need to put the straps on top of the back of the saddle before you try and pick it up on him. They told me what to do so that I could get there. And so the same thing with that. Get a mentor, someone who can help you down the path and help create the path that you need to go down so that there's no question what it is you need to do. And so that's how to help where people get stuck and how to get unstuck.
Yeah, I think failure is one of the biggest things holding a lot of people back, that fear of failing.
Yeah. Yeah. And they just have to take that step, and that first few steps is the hardest. But once you get those steps going, that momentum will just carry you until you either succeed or you figure out, okay, I need to say uncle and I need to go back to the drawing board and find something different. Failure isn't bad if you learn something from it. And you take what you learned and you just stack it on and try again. Get up. The only time failure is bad is when you don't get back up.
Yeah, completely agree. So what has been your favorite and your least favorite side hustle?
So my favorite side hustle is probably speaking and helping other people. So the reason is because I like to talk. You can see I like to talk, and I like to talk about what I do. I like to talk about side hustles, and even if I'm not talking about my side hustles, I love talking about your side hustles. And so I love to bounce ideas back and forth, figure out what's right for you, and then figure out where we're going, and then seeing them succeed. Now, we go to least favorite side hustle. Out of college, I decided I was going to do a snowmobile rental business. And I like snowmobiles. Let me rephrase. I love snowmobiles if I'm doing something that's going to get me hurt. I don't like to just go cruise and trails and look at the mountains. I like to jump. I like to climb. I like to go fast. And that's going to get me hurt. In fact, when I started this business, we bought new sleds, and you have to warm up break the sleds in before you let people take them out. And so I'm probably been on the sled for 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, and I dislocated my shoulder because I was doing stuff that I shouldn't be doing. Anyway, the reason that I kind of decided I didn't like it is because we would rent from the location where people are just taking them from there. And people do stupid stuff. They get stuck. And so I would spend all day helping people get unstuck. And I didn't enjoy that. And so I didn't, I didn't enjoy just going around and getting people unstuck. And I would just tell people sometimes, they're like, what are you thinking? Why are you going here? There's no place for you to go. Get out of this. And so that part of that, and plus you depend on the weather. I think our first year, we didn't get to rent a sled until January 2nd because we didn't have enough snow to rent sleds. And that was tough, so depending on the weather. So ski resorts and stuff like that, where you depend on outside forces to make it happen, that's tough.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So what led you to your speaking career then?
So I am an adrenaline junkie. Like I said, I took the first commercial bungee jump to Japan. One of the stories I tell is jumping off of the bungee tower, just hanging onto the bungee cord with my hands. And so I'm an adrenaline junkie. I do stupid stuff. I took the first commercial sky coaster to Japan, not commercial, but so the sky coaster, it's a big swing thing and all the amusement. So I took the first one of those to Japan. Then the Japanese company, they called me up one time. It was right around Christmas, and they said, hey, Bart, we saw this thing on TV. It's a completely unattached free fall into a net. It's in Germany. We want you to go try it. And I said, an unattached free fall into a net? That's got to hurt. And I kid you not, this were their exact words. Yeah, that's why we want you to go try it. I called Germany. Germany said, oh, it's just for stuntmen right now.
What'd they say it was?
It was just for stunt people right now.
Oh.
And they said, we'll call you when it's ready for the public. I didn't think I'd get a call back. I thought I was safe, About 2 months later, I got a call, and I said, okay, we're ready for you. I was on a plane to Germany. I did it 4 times, then I flew to Japan. We sold 3 in Japan, and then I actually built 2 for Germany here in one in Dallas, Texas, and one in Wisconsin Dells. And anyway, so I'm an adrenaline junkie. When I got married, I decided, or my wife decided, that I needed to calm down a little bit. And so I quit doing the stupid stuff. And then for a company that I worked for, they asked me to do a short 3 to 5 minute testimonial on stage in front of 5,000 people. And this was my first big audience. And yeah, it was stupid. Yeah, it was just a short thing, 3 to 5 minutes. And I wrote my speech, and I had a place in there that they're supposed to laugh. And I had a place in there that they're supposed to ooh and ah. And I got up on stage, and I'm to the place where they're supposed to laugh. And they laughed. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. And then the ooh and ah came, and they oohed and awed. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. What power. And I just loved it. And I got off stage, and my adrenaline was rushing, just like I jumped off the bungee tower, just hanging on with my bare hands. I grabbed onto that. And then life got in the way. And it was a few years later, Garth Brooks was doing a Christmas special on ABC. And it was his show in Vegas, where it was just him and his guitar. And he doesn't even sing a whole lot of his songs. It's basically the history of music through Garth Brooks' eyes. And you're thinking, oh, that's boring. No, He grabbed me through the TV and he sat me down and he wouldn't let me go. His facial expressions, the way he looked at it in the camera, his crazy eyes, and how much fun he was having. I just like, oh, that's right. I wanted to speak. And so I went out and joined the NSA, the National Speakers Association, and learned to speak from some of the best people. And then I didn't have a place to practice. And so I joined Toastmasters, which is a speaking club. And that's where I started. And now I because I speak on getting a side hustle. AT&T or Apple or whoever, whatever company isn't going to pay me to come in and tell all their employees they need to go get a side hustle. So I do my own thing. I do my own events and I speak to my people and I find my own people and just help them go do what I do. Help them learn to monetize their mindset. And so that's kind of how it started. And I just love it. It's an adrenaline rush for me. I still get nervous to get on stage, even if it's just 10 people. 10 people might be even worse because they're right there. But if I didn't get nervous, I don't think it would excite me. And so, I just love the feeling of the adrenaline rushing through my veins. And so it's my new adrenaline rush. And that's how I started that. Plus, if I like it, why not? Why don't I get paid to do it? And so that's what I do.
I love it. I love it. Can you tell me what is the big poop story?
The pig poop story.
Yep.
Okay, so one of the things that I think is very important is not to overlook the things that are right there. The things that are right in your own backyard. Have you heard the story Acres of Diamonds?
No.
It's an older story. It's about a Persian farmer. His name was Ali Hafed. Ali Hafed, he sold his farm and he went in search of diamonds. He died broke, alone in a foreign land. He never found them. The new owner of his farm was watering his camel in a brook that ran through the property. Saw a weird stone. He reached down and picked it up. It was a diamond. The Golconda diamond mine was established right there. He found acres of diamonds in what was Ali Hafed's backyard. My family, we have a similar story. Instead of acres of diamonds, it's called acres of pig poop. I grew up in a small town in southern New Mexico. Like I mentioned, there were more pigs than people in our town because of my dad. My dad's a pig farmer. At any one time on our farm, there was probably roughly 19,000 pigs. And we ran about 2,000 sows. You know what a sow is?
No.
It's a mama pig. And a mama pig can give birth 2.5 times a year. And on our farm, we average 9.97 pigs per litter. And so for you mathematicians out there, I know because I'm an accountant, that equals a lot of pig poop. We had 3 man-made ponds that we called the lagoons that we would divert the stuff into. They were settling ponds. So it would go this place 1 year, next year, and then we just rotate and rotate and rotate. They'd been rotating for years. When Dad he was in his mid-60s, he decided it was time to shut down the pig operation and go in search of his next acres of diamonds, his next big opportunity. He died at age 81. He never found his next big thing. About 2 years after his death, we sold the farm for $235,000. It was a fair price for the property. About 6 months after that, the new owners of the farm, they were leveling those man-made ponds that they had been dry on top for years. But as the heavy grader was going across the pond, in the middle, it broke through the crust and sunk up to its belly in this black muck. They called in experts to analyze the stuff. And right there on the spot, they offered the new owners of what was our farm $2,000 a ton for the stuff. That's $1 a pound for old pig poop. The farm that we sold for $235,000 was now worth over $1 million. 500 tons of old pig poop was acres of diamonds right under my dad's nose. And so I want to ask your audience, what about you? Where are your acres of diamonds? Are you on the verge of discovering them? Or are you overlooking them like Ollie Fed and my dad? They could be right in your own backyard, right there within your grasp, right there under your nose. And in my family's case, they could look like a pile of pig poop. And so just be aware of what's around you and don't overlook the opportunities that are there. You know, there's just so many opportunities that you're not thinking about. A friend of mine, so I interviewed them for my book. They started a company name called Jamberry. Jamberry is a nail wrap company that do-it-yourself nail wraps for women to make their nails prettier. They used to go, this was 2010 and earlier, they would go to the salon, get their nails done, and it was expensive, $50, $60 a pop. As they were walking out, these two sisters were walking out one day. One of them says to the other, I wonder if we could do these ourselves for cheaper. So they did their research. They went and looked on the market, and there's nobody doing do-it-yourself nail wraps. They got their hands on some product, and they made these prototypes, and they could do it. They could do it at home. They went to a home show and got a stack of orders. Came home, went to mom's garage. Everybody, the family met in mom's garage, and they made these things and got the orders out. They went to another home show. Same thing happened. Jamberry was born. 5 years later, 2015, they sold 50% of the company for a multi-million dollar deal. All because two sisters asked. One of them, I don't even know if they remember who asked first, but you think we could do these ourselves at home for cheaper? And I asked her, her name was Erin. I said, Erin, what suggestion would you give to people who are trying to start their own side hustle? And she said, even if you don't know the ins and the outs of the business, start it and learn as you go. Because you're not going to know all there is to know until you get in there and get going. And so 2 things there. Number 1, just start. And then also, don't overlook what's right in your own backyard. Acres of pig poop, or just walking out of a salon. I wonder if we could make these ourselves for cheaper. Don't overlook the things that are just right there.
Yeah, great advice right there. What are your short-term and long-term goals?
So my big, hairy, audacious goal is to be the next Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But I didn't have a poor dad. I just had a dad that just was encouraging, and he thinks like I do. I mean, just had his hands in many, many things. And so I want to be not the next Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I want to be the side hustle samurai with my samurai dojo, teaching people how to monetize their mindset.
Awesome. What is one book you'd recommend for either personal development or upgrading your mindset?
I think it's Monetize Your Mindset by this amazing author, Bart Merrell. That would be one. Seriously, on a serious note, and it's not a how to do it book, it's a how to think book. And so once again, it's just giving you ideas. Okay, I interview people, I tell people stories. I tell many of my stories. I just finished Gary V's, what does he call it? It is Day Trader. Gary Vaynerchuk, that day trading blew my mind. Just the many ways to get out there and get yourself known. And and I'm a big Gary Vee fan. I have all of his books. And so the Day Trader, that one is new and fresh. But if you go back to it was the something economy. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank right now. But where you learn how to deal with your audience, deal with your people. And so that was one of his first books, and it was amazing. And that got me thinking on that. And then if you go even further back, Good to Great is a good one. Good to Great talks about how good is the enemy of great. Because I'm good enough. I'm good enough. I get in that mode, and I have to slap myself and say, okay, yeah, you're good. And you may be good enough, but you can be better. And so just that idea of improving a little bit each day will get you further. I mean, we used to call it going the extra mile. I think now in this world today, even if you only go the extra half a mile, you're gonna stand.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. How can people get a hold of you?
So I just started a new YouTube channel, It's called Bart Merrell, the Side Hustle Samurai. I'll be giving advice and talking about different things when it comes to side hustle, interviewing people every once in a while. The best way to get a hold of me is to get the 25 for 25, because you'll get on my mailing list and get any information I give out. And so that is that offer one, the number one. So offer, OFFER, number one, bartmerrell.com/25 for 25. And my last name is Merrell, like the boot. Unfortunately, no relation. And so that would be a good way to get a hold of me. I'm on Facebook. Also, there's bartmerrell.com is my website. You can see some of my speeches and stuff there.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put all that in the show notes too for everybody to get in contact with you. Is there anything we haven't covered that you want to talk about?
So, like I told you, I helped take the first commercial bungee jump to Japan. I am a bungee jump master in Japan. That gave me the authority to assist little Japanese people off the top of an 8-story tower. On our busiest day, I assisted 783 people off the top of this tower. But on a slow days, sometimes I was stuck alone at the top of the tower with just me and my brilliant mind. Now, so if you put your finger by the side of your ear and you're spinning backwards, that's crazy. If you spin forwards, that's brilliant. So if you're not watching on YouTube and you don't see that, forward is brilliant, backwards is crazy. My tower, like I said, is 8 stories high. And in theory, a person could jump from the top of the tower. So there was a stuntman airbag at the bottom, one of those that have the fans going in it all the time. And so in theory, you could jump from 8 stories high without a cord and hit the airbag and survive, be okay. So my brilliant mind was sitting at the top of this tower this one day and said, Bart, I wonder if you could do that. I walked over to the edge of the tower. I looked down. Nah, I ain't that crazy. But my brilliant mind continues. Well, maybe you could jump with a bungee cord attached, wait for the bouncing to stop, and then you just release yourself from the bungee cord and you fall 6 stories instead of 8. Now that's something I could do. Hooked myself to the bungee cord, called my buddy up. I jumped, waited for the bouncing to stop, and I couldn't unhook the cord. There was just too much pressure on that cord because I'm basically hanging from a large rubber band. So I go back up to the top of the tower, sitting there thinking, my brain was thinking, okay, when we attach the bungee cord to our customer, we use this 1-inch thick or wide, about a foot long nylon strap. Had a carabiner at the end. We put that through and then hook it around and hook it to itself. I could take 2 of those, hook them around to themselves, and make 2 loops. What do I have? I have handles. I could jump just hanging on with my hands, wait for the bouncing to stop, and then all I have to do is let go. Brilliant, right? So with handles in hand, I walk to the edge. I'm just hanging on with my hands, and I jumped. Now, obviously, I survived. It was okay. I'm here talking to you. But sometimes your brilliant mind doesn't think things all the way through. I let go of the bungee cord after the bouncing stopped. I let go, and it shot up to the top of the tower with a loud bang. I dropped to the mat with a loud slap. Everybody in the park came running to see who just died. I'm crawling out of that air mattress. Oh, everything's okay. Everything's okay. But here's the point. If you don't take that first jump, even if it's scared, even if you don't know what's going to happen, you're not going to ever start. And you may think, Bart, that's just crazy, jumping off a tower, just hanging onto your bungee cord. It wasn't an uneducated guess or an educated decision. I had jumped on that bungee tower 1,000 times, probably more than 1,000 times. I knew what kind of pressure I was going to receive. So I was 99% sure that I could hang on. So it wasn't an uneducated decision. But it was scary. It was next to getting my leg chopped off and walking through the hospital doors that morning to get my leg chopped off. Jumping from that bungee tower was probably the scariest thing I've ever done. And so as business people, it's scary. You have to take that first step, venture out, see what there is to see. Not an uneducated, stupid decision. An educated decision, step out there and then make it happen. And so I know it's scary. I know it's hard. But sometimes you just have to do it. And so let me just kind of veer off to what I talked about my leg, getting my leg cut off. So this was I found out I was going to get my leg cut off, and I had 6 months. I thought about it. I didn't think about it, but between the time of decision to cut it off and it actually getting cut off was 6 months time. I had a lot of time to think about it. Walking through those doors that morning was the most terrifying thing I've ever done. In my mind, I felt like I was a death. I mean, the thing to compare it to that you might understand is a death row inmate walking to the death chamber. Now, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration, you say, but I literally was walking in and I wouldn't be walking out. And I didn't know how long I wouldn't be walking. Is it going to be 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 10 months? I didn't know. And so it was just a scary thing. I seriously had doubts if I was going to be able to do it. I was like, man, you're going to have to knock me on the head with a hammer and drag me in. But I did it. Same thing with business. And you need to get prepared for what happens when what happens happens. no matter what it is, because it's going to happen. So you need to prepare for your family. Do you want it for a vacation, pay off debt, maybe to get a new car, or just have that breathing room that we all need so badly? Have that extra cushion. So just do it. Take that leap, but don't, like I said earlier, don't go chopping off body parts to start a side hustle.
All right, final question. What is one piece of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with about overcoming adversity?
You need to prepare for it, because people ask me, how did you go through your amputation so smoothly, so easily, so you just seemed like you didn't care. And I say, no, I cared. Like I said, it was the most terrifying thing I've ever done. And it was something I didn't want to do. And how did I prepare for it? From a young age, I dealt with things, and I dealt with them gracefully, and I learned along the way. And I always feed my mind with good stuff, whether it's YouTube videos, books. I feed my mind with positive stuff. I don't think about what could go wrong. And so I'm in a couple of amputee Facebook groups, and I am so glad I didn't get in those groups before my surgery. Because you have 10,000, 20,000 people, and the only ones talking are the ones, oh, I got this problem. And so they got this big gap where their incision is, and it's red and it's infected and so you hear all the bad stuff. When I went into my surgery, I expected the best, and the best happened. And so you can't think about what might go wrong. You need to expect the best and deal with what happens. And if you can't do that now, start filling your head with good things now. You've probably heard, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. So the best time is now. And so there's nothing I can tell you today that is going to make a difference tomorrow. But if you start today and work to a year from now, 5 years from now, whenever it happens, and start preparing, that's how you're going to build up your mindset and create a good mindset.
Amazing advice. Well, Bart, thank you for coming on again. It's been a pleasure hearing your insight.
I hope I was a help to your audience, and I hope they can take something and actually do it.
I'm sure they can.
Do it. And I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, not a problem. Well, guys, that's going to be all the time we have here today. Remember, the only way to get what you want is to go through the fire.